Welcome to the jungle. Gee, that would be a great title for a song, wouldn't it? The other day, I came in here, I pruned more stuff, and I set this section up with a pressurized irrigation system. We're doing much better. Still not perfect, and what I'm going to have to do is probably do an actual flow test on the individual lines to see if there's something funky going on with a couple of the lines, but we're doing much better. So now I can safely run this stuff here, and it does a pretty darn good job of keeping the plants moist enough but not drowning them. Sorry about the fan, but I do have to have some fan on in here. At least it's the one down here, so that's quieter. This side here, we're still having some issues. You see there's a little bit of wilting here. It's not getting enough water to some of the pots, and it's getting too much to some of the other pots. So I need to switch this system up so that it is also a pressurized system. So I'm going to do the same thing I did last time, which is just start pulling lines out of here. I'm going to slide a few things around a little so I have some room. And you're not going to be able to see much because I'm in a plant. But I can assure you that this Thai basil smells absolutely wonderful. Just as one would expect it would. There we go. Now they're all disconnected at the source. And I can easily lift out some of these guys. Some of them are all tangled in other plants and things, and that will be fine. They will come out when I get to them. Gotten quite a few husk cherries off of here recently. They've just been dropping on the floor, and I've been picking them up. I harvested a whole bunch. No, I took it into the house earlier. So you don't get to see everything I do, because that would get a little boring. I am having a little tiny bit of blossom end rot showing up on a couple of these tomatoes, which I'm really not shocked by because they just haven't been getting even enough watering. But in general, we're not getting much. So one of the things I'm always on a quest for is finding tomato varieties that are less susceptible to blossom end rot than others, because in the past we have discovered that some are definitely more susceptible to blossom end rot than some others. Now I am looking for supplies. There's this. I know I saw my cutter this morning when I came in here. There it is. I want to lop off a couple of branches to just plain look crummy. They're in very tangled, gnarly areas anyway, so removing not healthy looking branches in tangled, gnarly areas is a good idea. Okay. I had a piece, I'm sitting there going, there's some confusion here, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And I realized what happened over here is I have I'm cutting off the ends of some zip ties. I have a string that broke. That's what's going on over here. I knew there was some confusion this morning that shouldn't be there. And I was like, what's going on? Now I know. So what has happened here is the cord that supported one of the rollers, these being the rollers things here, has broken. Very unusual circumstance. In fact, that's the first time it's ever happened. Well, I suppose there has to be a first time for everything, so. Okay. So what I need to do is replace the string up here. This one here. It broke. That's weird. Like I say, that's never happened before. I suppose, you know, eventually it'll happen. Because I was wondering what was going on. I'm sitting here looking at the fact that there's a roller down here. Instead of supporting plants, it's laying there. And everything's flopped over. And that's why. Magical. Okay. There we go. There is quite a bit of stress on these, so I guess it's not shocking. But, yeah. I was wondering why it looks so funky. Now I know. It's because that whole thing fell down. Okay, while I'm in here, I might as well do a little trim up. I hadn't planned to do this, but it sort of makes sense now. I'm going to take off some of these branches that are wilty anyway. All right, let's get those things done now. I have, just like last time, I have my stakes. I have my connectors that go to the distribution hub. There's my pieces. I'm going to leave them right here by the distribution hub. So that's going to be where they get used anyway. All right, I went to the old big box store the other day. This is the leftover tubing I have, the 1/4 inch. And I got a new pack of this stuff. I could not find exactly the same quantity in terms of gallons per hour. This is listed as being 2 gallons per hour. I think the other one was more, but it doesn't make any difference because I'm going to be consistent in terms of what I'm using for a section, and I will still be testing it later. You have the same sort of a concept. You have one end that the water is going to come out of and the other end that the water is going to go into, and it specifically shows you a picture that it's the red side where the water comes out of and the other side where the water goes into. So I'll take my phone out of my pocket. And I'm going to get to work. I may have actually had enough of the 1/4-inch line before I bought the new, but I knew that what I did not have was the proper collection of emitters. I wanted consistent emitters on a specific valve, because if I didn't, it was going to make it more difficult to get even distribution of water. So I had to buy another set of emitters for the ends, which I did. I also bought some extra 1/4-inch tubing, because extra is fine. I'll just stick it in a box where I could find it. And believe it or not, that's not that hard, because I have boxes that are for new tubing only. I'm not thrilled with the way my husk cherries currently look. I've really been having trouble getting a grip on the cucumber beetles in here. And I realized the other day, because I didn't want to spray with Neem, and I realized, oh, I have a much better solution than Neem, and I have some in stock. So we'll talk about that in a different video. But yeah, there are some places in the world where Neem is actually being pulled off the market because they're concerned it's a carcinogen. Well, I don't know. I haven't looked at the research. Let me put it that way. So I have no way of saying whether I agree with that or not. But my conclusion is pretty much everything is bad for you. Especially if you don't follow the rules. And that's the thing I see as the biggest problem, is people not being willing to follow the rules. And I find that interesting, because many, many years ago I was part of a drug study. That means I was attending an allergist, and they said, hey, you have allergy problems, would you like to be part of the study? And I said, tell me about it. And they said, well, it's this medication and it works really well, and do you want to be part of the study? And I said, sure. So they provide the medication for you for like a year for free, and you give them your feedback on it. And it was awesome. And it was pretty rapidly approved, and it worked well for people. But you could not use it with antibiotics. That means you had to follow the instructions. And it's still legal in Canada, as far as I know. But in the United States, they had to take it off the market because people here kept using it with antibiotics. And I don't remember what the result is if you use it with antibiotics, but it's not good. And people refused to follow the rules of not using it with antibiotics. So they had to pull it off the market. And I'm like, really? And I knew people for years who went to Canada to buy it because it was the only thing they'd found that worked well for them. And you shouldn't have to go to a foreign country in order to buy your freaking medications just because somebody in your own home country is too stupid and can't keep track of whether they should use something with antibiotics or not. It was ridiculous. One of those really frustrating moments in history. And I'm sure there are lots of other things like that too. It's just like, so you're penalizing the rest of us who could follow instructions because some idiots couldn't follow instructions. Okay, wonderful. My allergies are killing me, by the way, in case you're wondering. When the dog and the cat are having trouble with their allergies, you know that the allergy season is bad. And this year definitely qualifies as bad. Okay. I decree this a success. Not a complete success, because I'm not completely convinced that we're getting even distribution on this stuff. And I'm going to trim off this branch too, because it wants to smush my basil, and there's no fruit on that. So now my basil has more room. It's got better air circulation. I'm going to trim off these. If this plant continuously wants to put out shoots? And the answer is no. That's a hostinator. Monster plant. We'll see how the fruit is. Actually, I know how the fruit is. We haven't had it from our own garden, but we have had it from somebody else's garden. And we were quite impressed by the flavor. So, I'm eternally annoyed by brown leaves. So, you'll see me go in there and snip off a brown leaf sometime. That's better. Much better. Also going to take off the flowers on the basil because I don't want them flowering. Really? And I'm going to save the leaves because I have some tomatoes that I'm going to have a salad with for lunch. Where's my husk cherries? Husk cherries are in there. So I'm going to snag these leaves off of here. So far we are very pleased with this basil. The quality of the plant is excellent. It does not seem particularly susceptible to all the usual problems that you have with basil. So we are happy campers. So, until next time, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell because obviously we have a ton going on. And I have a plant that fell over. That's not good. So, I'm going to pin this guy up, and you guys are going to go do something else with your lives temporarily. But we obviously have lots going on. I have to, in the next week, try those Invincibles. We've got a bunch of the Invincible fruit that's coming on all at the same time, which was exactly what it should be doing because it's a determinant. And yeah, we'll see. So until next time, bye. And be sure to keep brainstorming because obviously we are.